time of day it is. It's the Tommy Maroon Sports Show time of day. We once again have so much stuff to talk about, whether if it's the trade deadline and some of the moves that have happened, or the Indians, or the Browns training camp. That's going to be so exciting. It's the Tommy Maroon Sports Show, and it's going to start now, but not without my trivia question as usual, and here it is. Now, who holds the record for most All-Star appearances in the history of baseball? You got your answer? Why, it's one of the greatest players of all time, Hank Aaron, with an incredible amount of 25. Now keep in mind, there were 2 All-Star games during his era, but that's pretty crazy. He is definitely one of, if not the greatest baseball player of all time. All-time leader in RBIs, 3rd all-time hits, all-time leader in total bases. He had more walks than strikeouts, and of course, we all know that he should be the home run king, if not for the steroid era. Now it's time to look at the Cleveland Browns training camp. Some of the basics of it. Well, it is in Berea, and the tickets sold out within 1 hour. And it'll be from July 25th to August the 21st. Odell had a huge round of applause when he came there. And you look at him. I can't wait for this team. I got them going to the playoffs, but yeah, again, I'm going to save my picks till later on. We'll see when it is. Now time for some position battles. And here's some to look out for. I got 3 of them highlighted. One of them is a rookie, Greedy Williams, picked in the 2nd round. There he is from Louisiana State against Terrence Mitchell. In my opinion, I'm saying Greedy is going to win it because why not give the rookie a chance? He is pretty good. He looks pretty good. The Browns defense, such great draft picks over the last 2 years. 2017, Myles Garrett. You also had David Njoku and Jabril Peppers. And then this year, of course, big Baker Mayfield and the hometown kid, Denzel Ward. Denzel Ward, of course, from Nordonia High School, pretty close to Cleveland. And, of course, Ohio State, the one college that we all here in Ohio root for. And, of course, time to look at my receiver battle. Of course, we all know that Odell is the number 1 receiver and that Jarvis Landry is going to be the number 2 receiver. So it's going to be between Antonio Callaway or Rashard Higgins. I'm saying Rashard Higgins because he has more yards per reception last year than what Callaway did. But don't be shocked if any of them could do it. And remember, Baker Mayfield can make a target that's not good really good, if you know what I mean. Then there's a safety. There's Jermaine Whitehead, who is shown on this screen, against Morgan Burnett. I'll say Morgan Burnett because he has more tackles per game. So that's how I look at it, as the better stats and the better average, the better. Now time to look at the Cleveland Indians. Yes, that red-hot Cleveland Indians team. Let's look at some of those hot hitters. Tyler Naquin, ever since the All-Star game, has had .472 average and 5 doubles. Jose Ramirez, as we will show Jose, this was way back in May before Jose was on fire, of course. Ever since that magical All-Star game, .366 average, 7 homers, and 20 RBIs. Of course, Jose Ramirez, who had a pretty rough first half of the season, has really picked up right where he left off last year. And I can tell this guy is going to do what he did. Well, 2016, 2017. We miss you, Jose Ramirez. It's great to see the vintage Jose Ramirez back. And then here's a guy who I like to call the Southpaw Killer, Jordan Luplow, because he is up in the top 5 for most home runs against the lefties in the National League with a .290 batting average. And there's also Francisco Lindor, a .325 average, 26 hits, 12 runs scored, and 4 home runs. He is pretty good. Of course, this is a man who made the All-Star game as a reserve, should have been a starter. Quite a shame. Maybe if he didn't get hurt in the first month, you never know. There was also Greg Allen, who has a good .356 on base percentage, which means if he has 3 plate appearances, he will get on base for 1 of them. And .256 batting average, which isn't the best, but yeah, again, that's pretty impressive. Then there's my Rookie of the Year candidate, not Jordan Alvarez, not Vlad Guerrero Jr., but our very own Oscar Mercado. That's right, Oscar has a .333 average, 22 hits, 4 homers, and 22 RBIs. That's very good. So let's look at some of those recaps of the first 5 series since the All-Star break. First one, Indians and Minnesota Twins. Carlos Santana hit a big home run in the 3rd game of the series. The Indians sadly lost that series 2-1. That would be our only series victory. And that game, final score was 4-3 as Carlos Santana did some Carlos Santana-like things. And after that series, we were 6 games back of the Twinkies. Then we played the Detroit Tigers as there's Brad Hand doing Brad Hand things. You know, I mentioned how hot Jose is? Yeah, he is that hot, hitting a home run deep to left against Matthew Boyd, who is a big guy on the trade deadline. We swept Detroit 4 games to nada. Yeah, 4 games to nada. That, my friends, is pretty impressive. A combined 1 hitter on the 16th, and the Indians have won all but one of their games against the Tigers. That is crazy. I believe it's been an 11-1 record or 12-1 record. I forget, but the point is, we have Detroit's number, and that's pretty good. After the series, we were 4 games back of the Twinkies. Then we played the Kansas City Royals. We once again won that series 2-1. And on the 21st in that series, Jose and Frankie had a home run each. And thanks to us winning the series, we were 3 games back of the Twins. That's pretty impressive. Then the Blue Jays, one of the games was on YouTube. We lost that one, but that was the only game in the series we lost. We won the series 2-1. Shane Bieber had a no-hitter through 6. I thought he was going to do it, but then Eric Sogard broke it up with a double down the right field line. Quite a shame, but you know what? He did get a 1-hitter, and after that, we became 2 games back in Minnesota. That's right, just 2. Remember, we were like double digits back once upon a time? That was pretty crazy. And then the Indians and Royals this weekend, we won. Of course we won, because we are the Cleveland Indians, a team that's been smoking hot since the All-Star break, and I'm pretty happy with it. Anyways, we won the series 3-1. Kippy had grand slam on the 27th, and Trevor Bauer, who got tagged with the loss on Sunday, he threw the ball when he knew he was going to leave the game. He gunned it over the center field wall. And commentator Rex Sudler for the Kansas City Royals said it was a good thing he didn't throw it anywhere else because he could have hurt somebody. This isn't the first time we've seen this. A nasty boy for the Cincinnati Reds. Rob Dibble did the same thing in 1991, got suspended. Of course, we all know Rob Dibble was not a good person. Whether if he hit people, had a hot temper, hit a base runner, hit batters, got into an argument with his manager. 1990 just seemed to be a fluke season, and I'm sorry if you are a Reds fan out there. He was pretty good, but remember, sometimes that anger can get the best of you, and maybe that got the best of him for Trevor. So let's look at the injury report. Corey Kluber, the 20-game winner last year. Remember when that happened? Oh, that was frustrating. He has some bullpen sessions, though, which is pretty good, and he should return. That's right, he should return by mid-August. And Danny Salazar, another person who's been on the injury list, he has started rehab in Rookie League and in Akron. Get ready to see him soon. And Cody Anderson, don't see him soon. We are not going to see him soon, sadly, because he is on the 60-day injured list, and he will be missing the entire season. Of course, Anderson hasn't seen that much time here in the big leagues. Hopefully soon we will see him, because I think he's got a lot of potential. Now let's look at the MLB trade deadline in 2 more days. Keep in mind there aren't 2 trade deadlines like most years. There's only 1 trade deadline. Here are who I think are going to be the buyers. The Red Sox, the Rays, the Twins, the Indians, of course the Indians, the Astros, A's, why not the Halos, Braves, Cubs, Brewers, Cardinals, and the Giants. That's right, the Giants. And for my sellers, Toronto, Kansas City, Seattle, New York Mets, the Cincinnati Reds, and now the Chicago White Sox, who have just plummeted down to earth. Now, I'm no general manager, but I have some trade ideas. Great ideas, or are they just trade ideas? Anyways, I say Elvis Andrus would make a good fit in Chicago with the Cubs because the Cubs really don't have the best middle infield. I mean, of course, Javi Baez is a great MVP candidate. But imagine if Andrus goes there. You got Rizzo at first. You got Javier Baez at second. And then Elvis Andrus at short. Chris Bryant at third. And Wilson Contreras catching. That is a great infield / catcher. Very, very great. And then for more trade ideas, I'm saying that Matthew Boyd of the Detroit Tigers, a team that is on pace right now to lose less than 50 games and have their worst season since that 2003 disaster when they won 43 and dropped 119. I'm sorry, that is pretty whopping. But anyways, Matthew Boyd, I think he should be traded to the Giants because the Giants have been red hot and he make a good duo with Madison Bumgarner. I thought the Giants were going to be sellers, but man, they have been red hot. And can't forget about the Nationals. I think that they are also going to be buyers. I forgot to mention them. And you know who I think they should get? James McCann of the Chicago White Sox. Because the Nationals need a catcher. Currently, their catcher is our former catcher, Yan Gomes. And Gomes hasn't really had the best season. So if they get somebody like James McCann, who has been having a great season this year, that would really help them. I think Whit Merrifield should go across the state from Kansas City to St. Louis. There's Whit Merrifield, a big hitter. He's not a home run hitter, but he is a good slap contact hitter. St. Louis definitely love to get him. He's not just a middle infielder, but he can also be an outfielder. I mean, of course, you got Paul DeJong, I believe, at short, Colton Wong at second, a good outfield led by Dexter Fowler and Marcelo Zuna. Whit Merrifield would make a good home in St. Louis. And keep in mind, St. Louis has really been battling with the Cubs and Brewers for the NL Central. Remember when that was pretty much every team could do it? Now that the Pirates have really spun out their wheels and the Reds are trying to do the same thing, it's really come down to 3 teams. It's either A, the Cubs, B, the Brewers, or C, the Cardinals. Of course, we will see what happens. Jacob deGrom of the New York Mets will probably be going to Minnesota or Atlanta because both teams don't really have the best pitching. But remember, here's some trades that have been happening. The Mets got Marcus Stroman, so we'll see if they trade him or not. Meanwhile, Dan Vogelbach, I think he could go to Houston because the Astros sort of don't have the best lineup. Alex Bregman has been struggling, batting in the 250s area. And meanwhile, you got Michael Brantley, who is so underrated, George Springer, and Jose Altuve, who is starting to heat up, and Carlos Carrasco. Not to mention a very young Jordan Alvarez. Jordan Alvarez could win Rookie of the Year. Do I think so? No, because Oscar Mercado is going to do it. That's right, he'll be the first Indian since 1990 when Sandy Alomar Jr. did to win the American League Rookie of the Year. So it wasn't just Marcus Stroman that was dealt. The Indians got Christian Arroyo from Tampa. We'll see what he does. I can't wait. Let's hope it was a pretty good trade. I think it's going to be a good trade. And you know how Eric Sogard broke up the no-hitter? Then a few days later, he gets traded to Tampa. Rats. It's such a darn shame because imagine if they traded him earlier. If it's anybody else, he gets out. Shane Bieber throws a no-hitter, and I'm going absolutely crazy about it. Yes, it's pretty frustrating, at least in my opinion. Oh, well. So those are some of the trades that have been going on. Of course, we got 2 more days left. And keep in mind, the trade deadline can help determine who's going to be a big team or not. 2015, the Mets are a good example of that because they were struggling for the most part of the season. Then they go all out on the trade deadline. Wilmer Forrest hits a big walk-off home run in late July. It helps them propel and take the lead against the Nationals in the National League East as Washington's locker room, if you remember, was a big mess. Jonathan Papelbon, another Rob Dibble-like guy, if you remember, choked Bryce Harper, and Drew Storen was out on the injured list for slamming his locker. Yep, that was pretty much a big chaos, but hey, this year, if you're a Nationals fan, a lot of optimism because Juan Soto, so much more. you got probably one of the best 1-2 punches out there on the hill with Max Scherzer and Steven Strasburg. It's either that or Houston with Justin Verlander and Garrett Cole. Of course, poor Pittsburgh with Garrett Cole. They wish they had him back. Of course, we're heading towards the end. Time to wrap things up. And once again with my trivia question of the week. And here it is, folks. Now, when was the last time the Cleveland Browns made the playoffs? We were talking about the Browns a lot today, so we'll see if you know or you don't. That wraps things up today for everybody here on WCTV. Tommy Maroon signing off. Can't wait to see you next week.